You know, all last week I kept living inside the question we left open at the end of the last chapter. Was there ever something you did without thinking about the outcome at all, and you did it the best, the most freely you've ever done anything? What was that state? And honestly, for most of the week, my inner weather was low cloud. I couldn't even see the peak. Every time I sat down to prepare something, I caught a quiet little engine running underneath. Make sure this lands well. Make sure they get it. The grip was so familiar, I almost didn't notice it was there.
Then one evening, I was just washing the dishes, not preparing anything, not performing for anyone. And halfway through, I realized I'd completely forgotten to track whether I was doing it well. There was just warm water and a bowl and a kind of quiet. It lasted maybe 10 seconds before the clouds rolled back in, but for those 10 seconds, the sky was clear. And what struck me was, nothing extra was added. Something was just missing. The grip was missing.
That's so honest, Leo. My week was a bit like humid air before a storm. I noticed it most at work. I was leading a small project, and I could feel how tightly I was holding the outcome. I wanted it to be recognized. I wanted it to be mine. And the tighter I held, the heavier everything felt, like the air just wouldn't move. And then the opposite happened, almost by accident. A friend called, upset, and I just listened. I wasn't trying to fix her or look wise. There was nothing I wanted to get out of it. And afterwards, I felt strangely light, like a little rain had fallen and cleared the whole sky. I keep wondering, why was the empty-handed moment the one that felt most full?
That right there, Amy, that empty-handed yet full, that's exactly where this chapter begins. The state you both touched, doing something with no grip on the result. The old teachers had a name for it. They called it emptiness. And far from being a lack, they said it is the very place the deepest, most inexhaustible power comes from.
Hello and welcome, friends. This is The Road to Awakening, and today we begin Chapter 4 of the Tao Te Ching. A short chapter, only a handful of lines, but one that turns the whole idea of strength inside out. I'm Leo.
And I'm Amy, so glad to be here with you again.
Amy, before we open it up, could you read the chapter for us first?
I'd love to. Listen with me, not to analyze, just to let the words settle. This is Chapter 4. Tao surge up and manifest into the function or usefulness perhaps never has its limit. It is profound indeed, seems like the origin of all things. It is without sharpness and depart from conflict. It merge with the light and converge with the dust. It is transparent indeed. Perhaps it exists. I do not know who gave birth to it. It existed prior to the creator/creation.
Thank you. Now, you'll notice the language is a little unusual. Surge up, the function or usefulness, its limit. Don't let the strangeness throw you. In a way, it's perfect, because this chapter is pointing at something that ordinary smooth language can't quite hold. Today, in this first part, we're going to stay with just the opening 2 lines. Tao surge up and manifest into the function or usefulness perhaps never has its limit. It is profound indeed. Seems like the origin of all things.
Okay, so that first line, the function or usefulness perhaps never has its limit. Where's the emptiness in that? It almost sounds like it's about being useful, being productive.
Beautiful catch, and that's the doorway.
The word at the heart of this line points to something hollow, like the inside of a cup or the hollow core of a bell. The Tao is described as empty, like a vessel. And then comes the surprise. Precisely because it's empty, you can pour from it forever and it never runs dry. The hollow is not the problem. The hollow is the whole point.
Think about an actual cup for a moment.
What makes a cup useful? Not the clay. The clay is just the wall.
What makes it useful is the empty space inside. That's where the tea goes. A cup with no hollow is just a lump. Or think of a flute. The music doesn't come from the wood, it comes from the emptiness running through it. Or a room. You don't live in the walls, you live in the open space the walls make. Everywhere you look, it's the emptiness that does the work. We just never notice it because we're trained to value the walls.
And here's an image that surprised me when I first heard it. When you steep tea, where does all that flavor come from? You'd assume from the solid leaf. But the fragrance is actually released out of the tiny hollows, the microscopic empty spaces inside the leaf. A leaf that was solid all the way through would give you almost nothing. It's the emptiness woven through it that holds the richness and lets it pour into the water. The Tao is like that. The nothing in it is not barren. It is exactly where all the richness is kept, waiting to be released the moment there's room.
So when the chapter says the Tao is empty, it doesn't mean the Tao is nothing. It means the Tao is like that inner space, the part that can actually hold something and pour it out.
Exactly. And here's where it comes home to you and me. We spend most of our lives trying to fill the cup. More knowledge, more opinions, more plans, more "I've already got this." And the fuller we get, the less can actually enter. There's a very old story that teachers love to tell. A learned professor went to visit an old monk to ask about the deeper life. The monk began pouring him tea. The cup filled, and the monk kept pouring. Tea spilled over the rim, across the table, onto the floor. The professor cried out, "Stop! It's overflowing! It won't hold anymore!" And the monk set down the pot and said, "You are like this cup. You came so full of your own ideas that there's no room. How can I give you anything until you empty your cup?"
Oof, I felt that. I think I show up to half my conversations as the overflowing cup. Can I admit something? The clearest version for me is with my mom. She'll start telling me about her day, and within about 5 seconds, I've already decided what the problem is and what she should do about it. My cup is so full of my own answer that I literally stop hearing her. And then she goes quiet, and I sit there wondering why she doesn't open up to me anymore.
And see how honest that is. The full cup isn't a villain. It's just a habit running faster than you can choose. Here's the part worth noticing. You didn't decide to stop listening. The answer arrived on its own, uninvited. So the work isn't to scold yourself. Why am I such a bad listener? Because that scolding is just one more thought pouring into the cup. The work is gentler than that. Next time your mom starts to speak and you feel the answer leap up, fully formed, just notice it leap. Don't even push it down. Let it sit there and keep listening anyway. That tiny gap between the answer arriving and you acting on it, that gap is the empty cup. The whole practice fits inside one breath. We all know that pattern. And notice, this is so practical, it's almost uncomfortable. Think about the last time you walked into a meeting or a hard conversation with someone you love. Be honest. Had you already loaded the conclusion before they said a word? Had you pre-written your rebuttal? That's the full cup. And here's the inner sequence if we slow it down. You expect the other person to land where you want. They open their mouth and it's not what you expected. And instantly, I need to correct this. The thought fires before you've even chosen it. So the practice the chapter is offering isn't go limp, have no views. It's subtler than that. The next time you feel that urge to jump in and set someone straight, just pause for one breath and watch the "I already know" thought as it arises before you act on it. You don't have to fight it, you just have to see it. Because the moment you can see the full cup, you're no longer only the cup. Something in you is looking at it. And that something looking, that's where we're headed.
There's a line that keeps coming to mind. Wasn't there a teaching, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven"?
Yes, from the Gospel of Matthew, the very first of the Beatitudes. And poor in spirit doesn't mean weak or miserable. It means inwardly empty-handed, not clinging to your own riches, your own certainty. Notice where he placed it. Of all the doorways into the sacred life, he put this one first. Emptiness before everything else. Because a heart already stuffed with itself has no room for heaven. And that's the empty cup exactly. A usefulness that never reaches its limit. A kingdom that is endless. Yet only the poor in spirit, only the empty cup can receive it. Two teachers, two cultures, half a world apart, pointing at the same hollow.
I love that they meet there.
And the Tao Te Ching says it again about itself a chapter later. The space between heaven and earth, is it not like a bellows? Empty, yet it is never exhausted. The more it moves, the more comes out. Picture it, a blacksmith's bellows, that leather bag that's completely empty inside. The sage reaches for that image to show that emptiness isn't barren. Work it, and air pours out endlessly. And it confirms our line, the function or usefulness perhaps never has its limit. The emptier it is, the more it can give. This is what the old teachers called true emptiness, wonderful existence, empty in essence, endless in use.
Now, I want to make sure we don't misunderstand this in the way I usually do. When I hear empty yourself, part of me hears make yourself small, have no boundaries, just go limp. That's not it, is it?
That's such an important guardrail. Thank you for raising it. No, this emptiness is not passivity, and it's not low self-worth. Remember the bellows. It's empty so that it can do infinite work. The cup is empty so that it can serve. This is dynamic emptiness. It's the spaciousness of someone who is so present they don't need to grab. There's a thinker in the West who spent his life circling this. He spoke of being not as the biggest thing among things, but as a kind of clearing, an open space in a forest where light can fall and things can finally show themselves. He said we suffer because we're always grasping, calculating, trying to dominate. And he pointed instead toward a quiet, letting things be. His clearing and Lao Tzu's empty cup are cousins. In both, it's the open space, not the grasping, that lets reality appear.
So the emptiness isn't a hole we fall into. It's more like room. Room for life to actually reach us.
Beautifully put. And if you're listening right now, and this is speaking to you, I want to gently say, this is exactly what the Road to Awakening is for. We're a small show, just two voices trying to make the deep teachings livable. If something here is helping you breathe a little easier, would you consider subscribing to our channel, Voice of Heavenly Tao, and sharing this with one person who's carrying a too full cup? It's how these quiet teachings find the ears that need them. Thank you for being here, truly. Now let's step into the second line, because it takes us deeper still. It is profound indeed, seems like the origin of all things. The word for profound here means deep the way a still, dark pool is deep. You can't see the bottom. And it's called the origin, the ancestor, the source of the 10,000 things, everything that exists.
When you say the source of all things, my mind immediately goes outward, like somewhere out there in deep space, the Big Bang, the beginning of the universe.
That's the natural place to look. But watch what the chapter does. It says, seems like. It won't let you pin it down as an object out there. And here's the term that makes this a teaching and not just cosmology. That source isn't only at the far edge of the universe.
it's at the near edge of you. Think of it this way. Every wave on the ocean comes from the deep. When the surface is whipped into a storm, the waves look like the whole story. But they're not. They rise from a depth that itself never gets churned up. Now bring that inside. Your thoughts, your moods, your reactions. Those are the waves. They rise, they crash, they pull you around. But where do they rise from? There's a depth in you that the storms come from and return to. And that depth itself is never in the storm.
So the source of all things isn't only about how the universe started, it's about where my own thoughts and feelings are rising from, right now.
Yes. And here is the most quietly radical part. If you can see your anger, then you are already not only your anger. There's something watching it. If you can know your anxiety, then the one who knows the anxiety is deeper than the anxiety and steadier.
But that watching, is it something I have to do? Like a technique I switch on? Or is it...
That's the gentlest part of all. It isn't something you do. It's already happening. Right now, as you listen to my voice, something is effortlessly aware of these words. You're not working to be aware. Awareness is simply on, the way the sky is simply open. We don't manufacture it, we only forget it, because we're so busy watching the clouds that we never notice the sky they're drifting through. So the turn we keep pointing at isn't an achievement you reach by straining. It's a relaxing back into something that was never actually absent.
And one of the awakened teachers, when he finally saw this for himself, said in plain amazement, "Who would have thought? The self-nature itself gives birth to all things." What he meant was this true nature of ours is the womb everything springs from. In that moment of awakening, he was pointing past every external place we go looking for the holy to say, it was here, in you, the whole time. And it lands right on our line. The origin of all things isn't a faraway ancestor. It's the deep source that right now your every thought and perception is pouring out of. That's the it the chapter keeps capitalizing. That's the one we're learning to recognize.
It's strange and a little moving to think the thing I keep searching for out there is the very thing doing the searching. The way you describe it, a depth the storms can't reach, reminds me of a story I read once about one of the awakened teachers. After his awakening, he had to hide among a band of hunters for 15 years. Just an ordinary rough life. Cooking, keeping watch, blending in. And the old account says the one in him who knew he was passing those 15 years was never once stained by the hunter's world. The years rolled by on the surface, but the depth never moved.
That's a perfect picture of this line, Amy. 15 years of dust on the surface, and the source underneath stayed clear the whole time. And notice, he didn't have to flee to a quiet mountain to find it. The depth was available in the middle of the roughest, most ordinary life. Which means it's available to you too. In your kitchen, in your inbox, stuck in traffic. You don't travel somewhere to reach the source. You stop being yanked out to the surface, and you discover you were always already there. So here's the inward move we can actually practice. Next time a wave of worry or irritation rises and starts to pull you along, don't fight the wave. Just ask quietly, what is this rising out of? And feel your attention drop, even an inch, from the churning surface toward the still depth it came from. You won't always reach it, but the asking itself turns you around. That's the whole journey in one sentence, Amy. And we'll keep returning to it. So let's draw the two lines together. The Tao is empty, like the hollow of a cup. And because it's empty, its usefulness never runs dry. And that same emptiness is the deep,
dark, fertile source that everything rises from, including you, including this very moment of listening. The invitation of this chapter isn't to get more, it's to get emptier, not poorer, but more available. To set the cup down for a moment and discover that what you were trying to fill was never actually empty. It was the source all along.
Can we give people one concrete thing to take into the week? Something small.
Let's. Here it is. And it's almost embarrassingly simple. Before you walk through a doorway today, your front door, the door of a meeting room, even the door of a phone call, pause for the length of one breath and silently set down whatever you're carrying in. Just for that breath, be the empty cup. Then walk in. You're not trying to achieve a blank mind. You're just making a little room. And then, notice what's able to enter that wasn't able to before. A word you actually hear. A face you actually see. Maybe a quiet that was always underneath.
I'm going to try that. The doorway. I like that it's tied to something I already do 20 times a day.
That's the beauty of it. The doorway was always a threshold. We just never used it as one. And don't expect fireworks. Most times you'll forget and remember halfway through the conversation, and that's fine. The remembering is the practice. Some days the cup will still be overflowing, but every now and then, in that one emptied breath, you'll catch something real slipping in. The actual tone of a voice, the thing underneath what someone is saying, a quiet that was there the whole time. That's the inexhaustible function the chapter promised, and it was never far away. It was just waiting for a little room.
So let me leave you with this, and I won't answer it.
Sit with it through the week, the way you'd let a tea bag steep.
When was the last time you set down everything you thought you knew?
And simply listened. And what did you hear in that empty-handed moment that you usually miss?
I'm going to be carrying that one around. I can already feel it working on me.
Let it. Don't rush to an answer. Let the question do its quiet work. If this conversation meant something to you, stay with us. Next time we'll step into the heart of this chapter, the 4 lines that turn all of this into a daily practice for living among other people. Until then, friends, keep your cup a little emptier than usual and notice what flows in.
Having learned this far, if there is any error or any clumsiness in how I've shared it, I humbly ask the wise ones and all the awakened ones before us for their compassion and their correction. Thank you, friends. We'll meet again next time.
Gratitude for the grace of heaven and virtue of teachers. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.